So what if they want to do cocaine? As long as they're not harming somebody else.
Bruh.
Just to show you a bias and prejudice of Gary Mitchell, I have a cardinal rule in my jury selection, for example. Anytime I have more than 4 white men on the jury, one, I'm going to lose unless it's a case that a white man wants to win. There are those rare cases, but they're very rare.
Bruh.
I have appreciated women on the bench far more than they think I do, because they have taken a look particularly at families and at children and their maternal instincts of solving problems far, far better than what a lot of men who have sat on the bench.
Bruh.
This day and age of thinking me and my computer and that's all I need, and a cell phone doesn't cut it.
Bruh.
Most important thing you can have in your office isn't a library or a great computer. It's a great secretary, paralegal.
Bruh.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome in this video. We are going to be discussing the waiver that Alexee signed at the hospital, all thanks to Same Confusion on Reddit, who went and found it and brought it for all of us to see here. So shout out to Same Confusion. Thank you so much again. As you'll see in the bottom corner, this is an excerpt from the state's appeal to the Supreme Court discussing this patient waiver. Now, instead of going bit by bit through the waiver, I went and pulled out the very important parts that would pertain to the actions that the hospital took in regards to Alexee's information that night, and past that into the evidence in this trial likely. So as we can see here, under the header of how we may use and disclose your protected health information, this first one is interesting to me because it says minors. We may disclose the protected health information of minor children to their parents or guardians unless such is otherwise prohibited by law. So to me, that kind of sounded like when the doctor told Alexee about baby Alex being found. Now, anything that could pertain to baby Alex is also interesting because there is still the civil lawsuit for wrongful death against the hospital. Now, as required by law, another reason they may disclose your protected health information. We will disclose protected health information about you when required to do so by international, federal, state, or local law. That definitely would, at least in my opinion, apply to Alexee. Abuse, neglect, or domestic violence, another one that quite possibly could pertain to baby Alex and, be part of this wrongful death lawsuit that they have going on. We may disclose protected health information to the appropriate government authority if we believe a patient has been the victim of abuse, neglect, or domestic violence, and the patient agrees, or we are required by or authorized by law to make that disclosure. Law enforcement. We may disclose protected health information so long as applicable legal requirements are met for law enforcement purposes. Obviously, that one would apply to Alexee in this situation and her claim of privilege. All right, now this part is interesting because even though Alexee was not receiving psychotherapy or have notes for psychotherapy, the case that we referenced in my last video, New Mexico versus Strouch, is the presiding case when it comes to privilege and how it's applied in New Mexico when it comes to healthcare professionals and admissions made to them about potential crimes. So with that being said, I found this extremely interesting because it is included in the waiver that most uses and disclosures of psychotherapy notes. Why would that be in there? Because it falls in line with the typical rulings of the court when it comes to admissions of crimes made to medical professionals. So that brings us to an interesting question. As you see here, it was noted in the state's appeal that the judge did not cite any case law in her decision to throw out all this medical evidence. Now, let's take a look at the judge because I have been just racking my brain over here how she could have found that every single statement made by Alexee is just gonzo, thrown out. I just don't understand that because it definitely seemed like you could parse through the evidence and find admissible pieces that fall within the boundaries of the law in the presiding cases. So let's take a look at Judge Gray's history here. Judge Gray is the first woman to serve as district judge in the 5th Judicial District, appointed to the court in March 2026 and elected the following November. She hears both civil and criminal cases, and she is designated the abuse and neglect judge in the 5th District. Before being appointed to the district bench, she was active in private law practice for 26 years. She holds a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing from the University of New Mexico. She received her law degree from Pepperdine University School of Law in 19. Interesting fact about Pepperdine, it was not a fully accredited law school until 1975, which means that she spent 1 to 2 years at a law school that was not fully accredited yet. As we saw earlier, Judge Gray was retained in 2008, and after that, every 6 years, she has been retained, but that also comes along with reviews. As you can see here, there are some interesting categories that you can take a look at, some like integrity, being fair and impartial, and things like that. You can pause to read all of this. I tried to compile it all here for you. And we will look at the next review that she got in 2020 here. You can take a look at, things like integrity, knowledge of the law, things like that. Very interesting things to see here. Here are just a few pieces of law and precedent that I have found regarding privilege in New Mexico and how it's supposed to be applied. So again, pretty much feels like a serious legal burden that this judge did not cite any case law and threw everything out. Now, from there was an interesting update about a case in New Mexico where, unfortunately, another baby was thrown in the trash immediately after birth. Luckily, I believe this baby survived. I do not try and follow things just simply for the fact of what the crime is. Again, I'm not a true crime channel. I don't enjoy true crime. I enjoy interesting legal things, and Alexee's case is 100% a very interesting legal case with a lot of suspect things going on along with it, in my opinion. Now, this girl in the case that you're seeing here featured in Texas. She was a teenager, put her baby in the trash after giving birth, and she gave her reason up for it to the police. Now, the first interesting thing I'd like to say about this is that she claims her motive was that so she wouldn't have her boyfriend break up with her. She didn't want to come clean about this pregnancy. Now, sorry that it turned out so very small, but I have stated this kind of theory in Alexee's case consistently. I know a lot of people think it's Rosa who was intimidating Alexee and she was scared to tell her mom about having a baby, when in reality, my thought process is that the motive was to keep her life the same, keep her boyfriend, keep cheer, keep her senior year, go to college. Nothing's happening here. Just keep moving forward. That's just my opinion on the motive, but it was very interesting to see this young girl state a motive such as, I didn't want my boyfriend to break up with me. Now, that doesn't seem like it's covering up anything. It seems like the honest truth because it doesn't get you out of anything. It just gave the motive away. So essentially, I feel like what this young girl said was completely honest, and luckily this baby was found alive. So what this other awesome person here on Reddit did was compile all the statements that Gary made, because he indeed made a feature here on Law and Crime talking about this young girl's case and Alexee's case as well. Now, when it comes to what he said, this person put it all out there nice and succinct, so we don't even have to go through it. I will just go bit by bit and give a quick explanation as to my thoughts on everything Gary Mitchell said in this case. Now, number one, talk about how he would defend this girl, and obviously, therefore, maybe some hints into Alexee's defense. He said, find out about home life, tell her story to the jury, get sympathetic on it, find out if she tried to get help from an aunt or grandmother. Bing, 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 bing. We have a winner. That was interesting to me. Why? Because Alexee was somewhere she could have got help. So you can't be using that for Alexee. Well, she didn't have anyone she could get help from. Well, my ass. Okay, no. So very interesting when he's just talking, because the more I hear from him, the less I am confident in Alexee's case, not because of his abilities, but because of the facts. So let's continue. Have her tested mentally, see where she's at for maturity and IQ. Alexee was going to college, going to be hard pressed to convince the jury that she was dumb. Put her on the stand to tell her story. I would literally melt in my seat if Alexee goes on the stand. I do not know what I would think. I am not prepared for that. I have fully convinced myself she won't take the stand. So we will see if he decides to do that. I think that she will crumble and just it would not be good on the stand. And so I would be super shocked if he puts her on the stand. He stated that they have not heard back from the Supreme Court on this case. He said that the doctors and everyone betrayed Alexee. Everyone sucks when it comes to Alexee. Everyone sucks except Alexee. The judge that ruled the body cam footage should not be admissible in court, has medical training, which we went over. She has a bachelor's of nursing. He insisted that Alexee didn't know she was pregnant until the baby came out. Now, this is where he has high hopes, and it's all tough talk coming from a defense attorney, in my opinion, when asked if the court doesn't give back all this evidence, if he thinks the state will move forward with the case. And he says he hopes not, because essentially they'd have no evidence, right? And he says you can't try a case based on hearsay. And what is hearsay when it comes to the autopsy and the hallway video? That's not hearsay. So that's still not hearsay. And I've said all along that if the state does lose everything, I still think they can get the murder charge with just the video of the hallway and the autopsy. Bring someone other than Chris Berry to the game and maybe you have a chance. But you got Chris Berry. Why? In my opinion, because no one else is going to testify on Alexee's behalf that all this stuff is wrong and Alexee was wrong and that the baby was born not alive and not breathing, yada, yada, yada. That's just my opinion. But again, I will digress about that. Now, this part's extremely interesting, and I cannot give too much away when it comes to this, but he says that he interviewed classmates and the boyfriend and that no one knew that she was pregnant. Now, number one, then where are they on your witness list, bro? Because he said that the state doesn't have them as witnesses. No one's come forward under oath to say that she didn't know she was pregnant. Now, what a flawed premise. Let me just break this down for you guys, because he is a master at just glossing over this kind of stuff. How would anyone know what Alexee knew about being pregnant unless they were having conversations with Alexee about her being pregnant? So that means she either had an opportunity to think she could have been pregnant, was outright denying that she was pregnant, and possibly also means that people had suspicions about her being pregnant. Because why would her classmates even inquire about Alexee's pregnancy status? Why would they know what she knows or not about being pregnant? Flawed premise. Flawed premise. Now, I don't know how I feel about Gary saying that he has talked to a bunch of peers and classmates at the high school, because I have also talked to peers and classmates from the high school, and not a single one of them mentioned being interviewed by Gary Mitchell. They, in fact, told me they were not reached out to by any of the legal teams, that I was the only person who went and found them and tried to get information. And get information I did. Would it do anything in the legal case? I don't know, because like he says, hearsay is a thing, but it is all pretty interesting and pretty much verified as far as it goes on my end. So we do have a lot of information from the classmates, not the Daily Mail BS that went out there, because that was definitely not true and not correct. But according to my sources, there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes at the school. I'll leave it at that for now. He states that Alexee passed a polygraph, which in court, the state will be allowed to tell the jury that the polygraph does not mean that Alexee did not have the intent to murder baby Alex in the moment, only that she is possibly not lying about it after the fact. And they will also get to insinuate that polygraphs are very bad evidence. So the jury will hopefully not take that into extreme consideration. Just the fact that they decided to get and use a polygraph in this case as the defense lets you know that they are screwed. He described Alexee as naive and honest, which I beg to differ. He said that there will be no trial this year, which is extremely likely. He said that the lawsuit against the hospital is still moving forward, which we all know they are not going to stop with that, because everyone on their end thinks that Alexee is the victim and not baby Alex. And this person said at the very end that they think she's going to get away with this. I see that sentiment said quite often. I think that it's usually said after you hear Gary Mitchell speak, which is why Gary Mitchell is an extremely effective and long-time defense attorney. This man is old as dirt, literally, and he has been around. He got the death penalty abolished in New Mexico. He has done a lot of work. His ties run deep in that state, but you can only swing the evidence so much. You can only hope that the jury will see Alexee in a sympathetic way as a naive young girl. You can only hope so much for that. There is no guarantee that the jury will not fall for his flowery words. you heard earlier how we said he starts with false premises. We don't even need to talk about the classmates talking about Alexee not knowing she was pregnant. Why? Because that meant it would have been part of a conversation in the first place. Use common sense when you hear this man think. Don't just take what he says as true. He is a defense attorney and he has no legal obligation to tell you the truth. Point blank, period. Keep up the hope. Keep up the fight. Thank you to everyone who has been here since the beginning. Thank you to Same Confusion for bringing us the waiver. It truly takes a community to keep, the hope up in something like this. And I couldn't be more proud to have the people around me that I do have the sources that I have, and have the trust that I have from the people that I have it from. I'm truly thankful for you guys. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for making it this far in this video. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you're interested in following cases like the Alexee Trevizo case of trial, please subscribe as I'll be covering it all along the way with a legal focus each and every Friday. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.